Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
One. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm pretty fired up to have you join us today. When I have a fellow athlete, he's a much better athlete than I am, by the way, but an athlete that's run a business, that knows how to be successful, you want to start taking notes. We dedicate this podcast exploring the idea of a servant's heart in your work, in your life. Imagine making an impact daily. I get to do that. I think my guest does as well. Just making those impacts. Hey, the money comes, the reward, all that is beautiful, but the impact's the first thing that makes a difference. Now, we're bringing guests on who are going to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you to make an impact in your world. Again, how cool is that? You go talk to somebody today after this show and you've changed their life. It's a great feeling. Here's your homework today. Think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today and what impact you create today. And the key word is today. If you've listened to many of my shows, I say this all the time, but I keep repeating it because I still have people come to me and go, you know, I waited. I took a month before I served somebody. What could happen in those 30 days if they just did that every day or once a week? So keep that in mind while you're listening to this show. Thank my sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders who are creating this thought leader platform to help grow the world, impact the world, and grow your business as well. The link will be in the show notes, or you can reach out to me with any questions. Well, impact, as I said in the start here, athletics, any endeavor, whether you're a golfer, a marathoner, a triathlete, a hockey player, baseball player, whether you're pro or below, sports is such a great discipline for business. And my guest today is an expert in one sport that I'm super excited to talk about. Let's welcome Steve to the show. Hey, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Good to be here with you.
Great name, by the way. Forgot to mention that before we jumped on. Just a wonderful name. It's so beautiful. Thanks. You're, I believe it was a triathlon. That's what you mentioned?
That's right. That's correct. Yeah.
And you got all those awards behind you. You showed me on YouTube. You can see it. There they are. Take my word for it on the podcast if you're just listening. It's very cool. But what lessons did you learn to be successful in business that helps you with being an athlete like that?
Well, I think the two go together, you know. And I have to say, Steve, that what I find amazing about your podcast is that it's called Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. And I know you have guests on once or twice, and that's great. But you've done over 200 episodes. So I think the true servant here is yourself. So
Thank
congratulations.
You. By the way, I had 670 today. I'm at 670.
Oh, is that right? Oh my goodness. My feed said 204 or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's tremendous. So
thank you.
As far as business and athletics, I think that there are many, many correlations there. You know, one is just discipline, that in order to run marathons, do triathlon, many, many days I've gotten up at 5 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. I never felt like it, but I had to do it. I always did it. And the same goes in business. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. I think another thing is just the joy of reaching the finish line. You know, whenever you sign that contract, or in my case, it was in the advertising and marketing industry, whenever you do something that's a home run for the client, you feel great. And you feel great when you cross the finish line of a marathon or a triathlon or a cycling event or that type of thing. So I think there are many things that help in both directions, that athletics helps in business and business helps in athletics. So,
absolutely.
Combination.
I love what you say, getting up in the morning, you didn't always want to do it. Boy, doesn't that sound like an entrepreneur or a business owner? There's days when you don't want to get up, right? Oh,
Absolutely.
that's very
Yes. Yeah.
cool. Now, audience, you don't have to be an athlete to be a business owner. There's many
Oh, of course.
successful business owners, but what's a couple of things you would tell a non-athlete to look for when they start becoming an entrepreneur or business owner?
Well, I tell many people that I'm not an evangelist for running, for triathlon, for cycling, or any of that. I am an evangelist for keeping yourself in some kind of shape because as a business owner, you typically work long hours. You typically kind of deplete yourself on a regular basis.
Hmm.
And I think it's important to stay in some kind of shape with whatever it is, even if it's meditation, which is, by the way, tremendous for business owners and doesn't have to be some kind of woo-woo meditation, just getting quiet and just being introspective, taking a breather once in a while. So, yeah, if somebody doesn't want to run or do that type of thing, just anything to keep themselves physically active and alert, I think helps a lot in business because you need all your faculties, all your energy in order to be a good entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's the fitness part of it's true. It's, hey, go and walk in 10 minutes. We're taking a break every
Exactly.
hour. I don't know if you listened
Yeah.
to one of my podcasts, the gentleman, Eric Collette, said, take exercise snacks, like go
Yeah.
for 10 minutes,
Oh,
just do calf raises, just movements. I love that you said that.
absolutely. Yeah, my company, when I had my company, we were located in a 7-story office building. And there were times when I would just get up and we were on the second floor. I'd just walk up to the seventh floor and on the stairs and walk back down and come back into my office. Sure. Yeah. Because, you get kind of lethargic during the day and those things help you get some energy back. Yeah.
Got some core values that you really stick to that I've read. How the core values help in decisions and actions in your life?
Oh, I believe that core values make decisions much, much easier because you have a framework from which to decide what to do. Again, I'll use athletics as an example. If one of my core values is fitness, and I know I have to get up tomorrow morning at 5:30 and run, and it's 10 o'clock, and people are saying, "Hey, let's go to the movie." I don't have to decide whether or not I should go to the movie. I've already made that decision when I define the core value of fitness. And again, if I define a core value of friendship that is higher than my core value of fitness, and somebody says to me at 10 o'clock, "Hey man, I got a real problem with whatever. Can we talk?" Well, that supersedes even the fitness, right? Because my core value is friendship. So I don't have to decide, well, should I do this or should I not? I've already made that decision when I define my core values. So I can say, okay, I'll put tomorrow's workout. I won't do tomorrow's workout because this person needs me now because that's a higher value in my life than even the fitness. So yeah, I believe in core values making decisions much easier throughout life. Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you'll miss that workout, but one missed workout is not going to destroy your whole
Oh
training.
yeah.
That's what we
Right.
got to think
And
about.
and living according to core values, that's what's important, right? It's execution. If you ask anybody what's your top value, they say family, right? But I was listening to one of your episodes, in which the gentleman said that he observed someone pushing their kid on a swing, and between pushes, he was on his cell phone, right? So I'm sure that man would have said, "Oh, my child is my most important thing," and yet, couldn't put down the cell phone just for a few minutes to play with the kid. So it's important to execute according to those values in the moment of choice. Yeah.
Execute according to your values. That is a phrase that I'm going to write down and keep and borrow and share because that's so powerful. Seems so simple, but it's powerful. So people listening, and I always say about people listening because it's about our audience, and you're here
Sure.
so awesome to help the audience. Somebody's listening, go, I don't have core values. How can they find them?
Well, that's interesting. I actually have a process. Since I sold my company, I do a fair amount of mentoring and consulting, and I actually have a process for that, which consists of a paper of about 100 words. And I'm sure people could find something similar online, about 100 words that they go through. I have people go through and circle these words that they feel resonate with them. And then we spend time narrowing it down and narrowing it down and narrowing it down until we get to about 10 words. But if someone didn't want to do that process, they could just, I find there's a park nearby. I've been to that park many times and I sit under the pavilion with a notepad and I just try to think. Don't take the cell phone or turn it off if you take it, and just try to think about what really speaks to you. I'll tell you, the first time I did it, I was actually hired to do a speaking engagement in another town. I flew to the town. I had 2 nights in the hotel booked, and the engagement canceled. And I was already there. So rather than jump on the next flight and come home, I said, you know what? I'm going to stay here. And I just stayed in the hotel room. I'd already blocked out the time and I just got quiet. And I really got into like what makes me tick. And it was probably some of the best couple of days of my life. But yeah, so I would encourage other people who don't have a speaking engagement get canceled. Just they go to the park for an hour and just think deeply about who you are and what's important to you.
What a brilliant way of solving a problem. Because the problem, you're there, you're going to speak, it's canceled. Your solution was stay and work on myself. It's brilliant. Yeah. Oh my God. I am going to borrow that as well. That is so cool. Let's talk about the book. Connecting is, we talked about your superpower, connecting, and I am as well. So we resonated very well with that. Talk about the book, what we're going to find from the book, what we're going to learn from the book.
Yeah. Well, the book is called Loving Your Neighbor, a Practical Guide. And that's what it really is. It's a practical, it gives practical tips for friendship. You know, we hear about the loneliness epidemic in the country. It's actually been called an epidemic. We know that relationships are very superficial, especially with social media. And I wanted to come from the perspective that people want to be good friends. They want to be connected to their neighbor, and we're all neighbors, right? But they didn't know how exactly. That it's just kind of this vague, nebulous thing, right? Friendship. And so I wrote a book that breaks it down into steps, things like seeing people as individuals, right? It's not just the barista, the server, the cashier. It's a person. And I can tell you so many times when I'm at the grocery store and I say to the person, the cashier, how are you today? Almost universally, they say they're shocked. They say, thanks for asking. It's amazing when we start to see people as individuals. Now, we're not going to have deep conversation with our server at the restaurant, but even that little touch. And sometimes we do have deep conversations. Sometimes people do open up. So things like seeing people as individuals, listening and asking questions. I have a thing in the book, people like this one. I call it conversation poker. And that's where people don't ask a question, they just try to upstage each other. So it's like, hey, my grandson just graduated from high school with all A's. And the other person says, well, I'll see you, your grandson with all A's, and I'll raise you, my granddaughter, who just got into Stanford on a full scholarship. And it keeps going like that. The better thing to do is to ask a question. Oh, really? What's your grandson going to do now? Where's he planning to go to school? And that's how you connect with people. So those are the kind of things that the book talks about. Very practical things someone can do. Like, don't play conversation poker. Ask a couple questions before you start to turn the conversation around about yourself. So the book is filled with those kind of tips. The idea being that people want to connect and maybe they just need a little practical help.
And one of my guests said people want to be seen. And that's what you're doing. When you say, hey, how's your day? They're seen. They're working 8 hours on their feet. They're tired of it. Here's Steve coming in. And I do it with waiters and waitresses all the time, and get their manager and tell their manager authentically, hey, they've done a great job. And the manager's response is, oh my God, I never hear it. It's across the board.
Yeah.
So I love
Yeah.
that we're so much in line that an audience is so simple. And I'll take even deeper, read their name tag. Hey, how you doing today,
yeah.
Steve? How you doing, Tony?
Oh,
Oh my God.
exactly.
It's like the shock, and you shouldn't be, but again, this is the world we have these days. Questions. You mentioned it a couple times, and I love it. How important are questions in business and in life in this connecting role?
Oh, yeah, that's great. Well, as we know, people do business with people they like, right? When I was teaching marketing, I would show a photo of two big companies, like the buildings, right? And I would say to the audience, do these two companies do business with each other? No, a building doesn't do business with a building. It's a person inside that building that does business with a person inside this building. Now, you have to be sincere because people see through phoniness immediately. But it's not hard to be sincere because people are sincerely interesting. So it's not difficult to be sincere with someone and to be relational and not just say, okay, can you give me the order today? But say, how are your kids doing? What'd you do over the weekend? I heard you bought a new car. I saw it on Facebook. You bought a new car. Tell me how you decided on that particular car. And as I said, you've got to be sincere about it, but it's easy because it truly is interesting. People are truly interesting. And when you do that, because so many other people don't do that, you rise above. People want to do business with you. And it's fun. It's great. And you get to meet, well, I mean, you know better than anyone. You've met thousands of people in your podcast and in your world. I mean, you know how to connect. So yeah, that's what I think, and I've seen it work. It worked for me.
Yeah, it does. You're absolutely right. You're just talking like it. If I sit in your chair, people be going, that's what Steve says. And it's true. And it's simple. And even from an introvert, I talk to a lot of introverts.
Oh,
Questions are magic. They're better for them because they ask and shut
exactly.
up.
I say that exact thing in my book. I have a section that's called "What If I'm Shy," and I say that's the greatest thing of all because this quote has been attributed to many different people. I read it in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, where he says, talk to a person about themselves and they will listen for hours. So if you're an introvert, it's very simple. Just ask about them. They love it. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to jump on a call or listen to a guy do a speech all about I'm Joe Smith and I make billions of dollars. I'm the fastest growing this and I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. People are going to start falling asleep because you don't learn anything from, and people don't care about me or you. They don't. That's a compliment.
Right.
They care about how we make them feel. Like Maya Angelou and what you said earlier. You guys, it's funny. You and Maya Angelou are right there together. That's a pretty powerful level to be at. The core of connecting, I get this question. I'd love to hear the answer. What's the ROI? Okay, I connect with all these people. Am I going to still be broke?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first ROI that jumps to my mind, by the way, when people ask me questions, Steve, I always try to capture the very first thing that comes to my mind, right? So the very first thing that comes to my mind is that the ROI is you improve the planet, and I don't say that I don't say that metaphorically. You really do improve the planet. People are craving, they're lonely, they're just craving for someone to care about them, to see them, to have them seen. So even if you don't make a sale, you've improved the planet. That man, that woman is going to go home that day and think, somebody cared about me today. But I believe there is also a business ROI, as we were discussing earlier, that people just enjoy doing business with people they like. And when people like you, I don't know if it's karma or if it's just the principle of reaping and sowing, that even times when we did not get business from someone, we got referrals from someone. And that's another thing, is that I never tried to poach a client from another advertising agency. If that agency was doing a good job, I would always tell the client, stick with your current agency if they're doing a good job for you. And they appreciated that. And those are the very people who would refer us to someone else. They would say, okay, but I know this guy who's having a problem. Why don't you call him? So I think there's a massive ROI, first of all, in just helping mankind, because you are, but secondly, in business itself. And that's the way I did business. And, I was fairly successful for 31 years.
Marketing is a perfect example. A lot of people do marketing. And one of my clients, who's a major, clients, custom, not clients, guest, big, he does millions of dollars a year in marketing. It's huge. He says, Steve, these are collaborations, not competition.
Exactly.
I don't work with a small business. If they came to me and said, work with me, my prices are too much, I send them to Joe, and Joe I know is going to take care of them. The universe gives you a thumbs up. I'm going to do it so you see it on video. The universe is powerful. And I know you've seen it, how doing what you just said, and look how successful you are. Part of that, because you are collaborating. You're not competing.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing we did, if anyone knows the marketing business, is that media reps, for example, radio, TV reps, typically get beat up by advertising agencies. We always treated the media reps with tremendous respect, and we got tons of referrals from them. We paid our bills on time, because the salespeople they get commissions charged back if the client doesn't pay the bill on time. We paid our bills early or on time. We treated them with respect. We got fair deals, but we didn't try to squeeze them for every penny. And they referred clients to us. So, yeah.
True servant's heart right there. You just defined it in that action, that story. I love it. That's why he's on the show. We're coming to the end here. So first thing is, where can they find the book?
Well, the easiest way to find all my books and blogs and things is on the website. That's just my name, Steve Fales, STEVEFALES.com. That's the easiest way. Everything's there. The Loving Your Neighbor book, my other books, my email address, everything.
And I tell you what, if you reach out to him, mention this podcast, he might give you one of his medals. I'm kidding. I'm joking. The audience don't do that, because he's not going to do that as a joke. But let's end with a fun question. I always like to get deeper into my guests. You've probably heard it because you listen to my podcast. So I've got a reservation for you, table of 4. You'll sit in one of the chairs. The 3 empty chairs, who would you invite, whether they're dead or alive, and what food would you order?
Oh, boy. Well, I think Winston Churchill was one of the greatest men who ever lived. Amazing. The way he stood up against the whole of Europe, practically. And I I love Jordan Peterson. I think he's a very interesting man, intelligent man. I'd love to have a conversation with him. And I am a pretty avid chess player. And my favorite player who's alive, my favorite living player is Fabiano Caruana. And so I would I'd have a hard time going around the table with these 3. But those would be my 3 major guests. We would be eating Thai food. We'd be eating Thai food. Yeah.
You're my first chess player in 670 shows when I asked this question. So we just hit a new mark. Congratulations. I don't know what that means, but that's pretty cool. I never thought, because I don't know if I'm going to look them up. That's why I love asking that question. Get to learn some unique people that aren't, like Winston Churchill. Everybody knows Winston Churchill, but Fabian, not a lot of people do. I'm going to search
Fabiano Caruana. Yeah. He bounces around between number 2, number 3, number 1 in the world. And it's interesting because it has to do a lot with some of the other things we've been talking about, is that he's known for not being the greatest chess talent in the world, but for being one of the hardest workers at chess in the world. He studies harder than the other people, even though he may not be the Mozart of chess like other players, but he works hard at it. And that's how I am. with everything.
I
I'm,
love
I'm not
that.
gifted. The only gift I have is the gift of hard work. I'm not gifted. I'm not a gifted runner, swimmer, triathlete. I wasn't gifted. I'm not a gifted business person, but I work harder than most people.
And the skill set of working harder, anybody can do. That's why I love what you said. That's so powerful. What a
That's
way to end the
exactly
show.
right.
Thank
Yeah.
you for an incredible show. You're definitely a servant's heart. You definitely care. Audience, go out and get his book or books. But learning to connect, it's going to make me more money than I can imagine. And it's helped Steve sell a business, his marketing business, probably for a very good price because he built those connections. It's not hard to do, especially when you know what to do. Just got to take action. And the last homework for you at the end is subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is a gift. You're listening and going, my friend needs to grow his business. He needs to connect with more people. You share Steve's podcast with them. Guess what happens? They reach out to Steve or they buy the book and it changes their life. That's a gift. That's a gift you can give. I think all podcasts, if they resonate with somebody, is a gift. Like a book is a gift. Steve's book could be a gift. Maybe you buy the book and send it to them. Whatever way you're serving them, because that's service, that's why I think you should subscribe to the podcast, whether it's mine or others. With that being said, me and Steve want to thank you all so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.